auf mein Kopf. Ik wie a Deckel, wo sie kleine Fahrt beim Top. Geht mir kein Sach mit, die Drop.
Hey everyone, welcome to Kill Me Now with Judy Gold, and I'm pretty sure that this is the last week of Kill Me Now with Judy Gold, and it will be our new name next week with a lot of new exciting things. But here's the deal. Do you want me to tell you what the name is? I think we should keep it as a surprise, but welcome, and thank you for listening. So this week was, I had a pretty amazing week this week because my younger son, Ben, graduated college, which is a huge milestone for him, but it's a huge milestone for any parent. So anyway, Mazel Tov to Ben and to all the graduates that have been graduating the past few weeks. I want to talk to you about the graduation. And I guess I'll start with that. But I do want to say, no, you know what? I'm going to say one thing about something I read about this morning, which was the Trump. First of all, I'm sick of the Trump trial. I just want you to know, everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited about the Trump trial. And, they should have allowed cameras in the courtroom so we wouldn't have to watch the retelling of every moment on cable news where they read the transcripts. It's so annoying. And then the conjecture, and then I like, oh, this means that means this, but none of those rules apply to him. Do you understand? It's like, well, the jury heard that means the jury feel. It doesn't matter how it goes with every other person in the world. It doesn't matter that that's how it works for everyone else. It doesn't work like that for him. He gets fucking away with murder. It's ridiculous. And the fact that when he said I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and people would still vote for me. The fact that that is actually true is so pathetic. That is how fucked up our country is. And I know there's a lot of Jews who are going to, oh, he's good for Israel, we're going to vote for him. I get it. I get that you're voting, you're a one-issue voter. But as a woman living in this country where I live, this is my home, the threat of democracy going bye-bye and us having a dictator and women having no control over their bodies and the educational system just going to shit, the burning of books that, I'm sorry, but as a woman who lives in the United States, I have to consider what my life is like here. And yes, you think Trump is better for Israel. You live in the United States of America. He doesn't deserve to. His character is important. You live in the United States. If you have daughters, if you have mothers, if you have sisters, if you have any women in your life, you cannot vote for that fucking orange piece of shit. I'm sorry. It's not fair. He is a liar. Look what he did to the Supreme Court. Look at all the close calls we've had. The lying, the sedition, the no transfer of power. He doesn't even show up at the inauguration of his successor. He's still planting this bullshit about the elect. Like, seriously, what is happening here? And if I hear it, I don't know how many more times I can hear it. We are living in the United States, and it is 1938 Berlin. And I think you people need to realize that. when you're voting. And frankly, not 100% thrilled with Biden. I'm not. I don't like the fact that one of his major advisors is very anti-Israel. I don't like that. I don't like that the progressive, quote unquote, left. They're not me. They're not me. Just like MAGA, there's MAGA Republicans and then there's regular Republicans. I'm not I am progressive on some issues, but you know what? You do not represent me. You don't. And your vitriol for Israel and the Jews, sorry, it's anti-Semitism, veiled in anti-Zionism. 98% of Jews are Zionists or think that Israel has a right to exist and to defend itself. And yet, let's all admit this is all fucking anti-Semitism. And it's happened before. What does it happen? Every 90, 100 years? And here we are. And if you vote for Trump, I'm sorry, you are voting for someone with the same values, many of the same values as you know who. And it rhymes with Mittler. Okay? So I'm just saying that. So, and also I read this thing. So there's this new movie that's coming out in Sundance. And it's called The Apprentice, I think. It's called The Apprentice. And it's a high profile drama. And the filmmakers have done I'm reading this from Variety a little bit. The filmmakers have done no press. The world premiere was last night. But one of the producers or investor in the film, Dan Snyder, is really pissed off because he did see the film and he thought it was going to be a positive portrayal of Orange Fuckface. And it is not. I don't know how you can do a positive portrayal of a lying, cheating, anti-democratic dictator, seditionist, rapist. I don't know how there's no flattering. There's nothing flattering to say about him at all. He's a misogynist. He's a liar. Anyway, so Snyder, who invested in the film, also donated $1.1 million to Trump's inaugural committee in 2016. And anyway, he's pissed off and they want to recut the film. You know, it's funny that Trump talked about fake news because he has created fake news. Everything he fucking says is fake news and it's all projection. And this film took 7 years to make it to the big screen. And there was an investor who de-invested. Is it uninvested? I don't know. He dropped out after the Trump stormed the Capitol. Let's not forget that, and took shits on Democratic senators' desks. So whatever. It's now all going into this. What would we call that? Soup of. You can't trust anything anymore. You can't trust anything. You can't. Everything is a deep fake. It's just, it's not good. And we need to go back to regular communication where you look at someone in the eye, where you call someone on the phone. I noticed a lot of kids who are now working don't know how to talk on the phone. It's weird. It's these pauses and because they just texted their whole lives. I don't like the direction this is going. So that's that. I just hope he gets convicted. He won't. No justice will be done. We have these fucking compromise, like Alito with his wife putting a flag out. Like, these people are just full of shit. The Supreme Court is not unbiased. Whatever. It's just really depressing. It's really depressing. So let's go to Ben's graduation, which, it's so exciting. And it's such an accomplishment. And I have to tell you, he graduated from Trinity College and in Hartford. And, everyone asked me, were there any demonstrations? There were no demonstrations. There were students wearing keffiyehs. I don't think they even know what the keffiyeh stands for. I know that a lot of, I read an article, I can't even believe the articles that I read, but that the keffiyehs are not really worn. It's the keffiyeh, let me just say this. The keffiyeh originated amongst Bedouins as a practical and protective covering for the head and face, especially in the arid desert climate which they have traditionally lived. So, and it was first used in the 7th century. And it's traditionally worn by Palestinian farmers during the Ottoman period. And it signaled the wearer was rural. Early Jewish migrants to mandatory Palestinian adopted the keffiyeh because they saw it as part of the authentic local lifestyle. The keffiyeh that these kids are wearing now, it's a symbol of Palestinian nationalism, exemplified by Yasser Arafat, who always had one on. He folded it in a certain way. But this is now being used as a symbol of revolt and as a symbol of anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, or thinking Hamas is a justified resistance organization. So it's sort of threatening. It looks like, when I see someone, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Israel doesn't have a right to exist. And that's what I think. So there were some students wearing those. One of the professors did get an award, and he turned around, and on the back of his gown, he was wearing a cap and gown, he turned around after getting this award, and it was a Palestinian flag, and many of the students started clapping. Okay. And I don't hate, like, it's so interesting because it's not like I hate that guy. I don't hate him. He has his beliefs. I just think that it's sort of, as a Jew, when you see these symbols, and we have had to deal with lots of symbols, also known as swastikas, and upside down red triangles, and the watermelon. Like, there's just so many symbols that are in your face against Jews. And you could say, they could say, oh, when I see someone wearing a yarmulke, that's a religious symbol. That has nothing to do with their political beliefs. Just means that they're a practicing religious Jew. But we are surrounded by symbols. There were two Jewish restaurants on the east side where they broke the glass outside the restaurants. I'm telling you, people, we are repeating history here. So when you are at a college graduation where your mind this is where we learn. This is where we learn about other cultures. This is where we question authority. This is where we figure out, our path or the beginning of our path. There's just so much. And it is this, I don't know. I just think it's when a Jew sees that, we know we're hated. That's what I feel. That we know, oh, that person hates us. And you can try to convince me otherwise, but that's what it is. That's what I feel. And it's threatening, but we are surrounded by it. And we've been through this how many times? And it's now our turn to deal with it. So it was great because at the graduation, the what do they call it when the religious, they start the thing with anyway, a rabbi did the first, I don't know what the name of that is. And you're all probably yelling right now, like, oh, it's the induction or whatever the fuck it is. But it's something shun, I think. But anyway, so the rabbi spoke and talked about the midrash and sorry, I didn't do the bell. And how important your name is, that you have 3 names in your life. You have the name that your parents gave you, you have the name that other people call you, and you have the name that you call yourself. And the most important one is the one that you call yourself. And it was really interesting. It was great. She was great. And then, of course, we had to deal with it really is, it's an aggressive, turning around and saying, fuck you, Israel, because that's what he did. It's annoying. It's threatening. It's annoying. You look and go, well, here we are again. And so then also the student who spoke mentioned genocide. I don't know why you're in college, a very highly respected academic college. I don't understand why you don't understand the meaning of genocide. So there's that. But what I really wanted to talk to you about was the speaker. The speaker was Danny Meyer. And, he started Shake Shack and Gramercy Tavern. And he has the most, his chefs have the most James Beard Awards of any restaurateur. He has another big fancy restaurant. And so he gave the speech. And the speech, he talked about himself the entire time and how he became this incredible restaurateur. And it started with him telling the students that, because he's a Trinity graduate, 1980, that he applied to 3 colleges. He's from St. Louis. He applied to 3 colleges, Brown, Princeton, and Trinity. And he got rejected from Brown and Princeton, and he got waitlisted for Trinity. And he wrote them a letter, sort of, begging how much, he wanted, begging them, please reconsider. And I really want to go there. And it was the only college on his very short list that had an interest in him. So he had to do that because he only applied to 3 colleges. He went on and on to talk about his time at Trinity and how when he left, how he got a sales job in 81, 80, 81, 82, whatever, and made a lot of money. Like a lot of money. He said about $124,000 in sales commissions in like 1981 or 82. And he goes on and about how he had dinner with his uncle at a restaurant, and he said, "Why don't you, because he wanted to go into finance." It was all about money, and it was so tone deaf. I don't think anyone there, unless they're, Tucker Carlson, who's a graduate, really could relate to this story of complete and utter privilege. And there was not one funny, it was so unfunny. And then he talks about, there was maybe one joke about how he loves coffee. He named the dog Macchiato. I mean, when you're talking to these graduates who are going into, they're taking their education and I mean, going into the quote unquote real world, I don't even know what the real world is anymore because nothing is real in the world. And these kids who missed their high school graduation because of COVID, they've already been through a pandemic. They've been through a lot of shit. School shootings. Like, this was the story of someone with so many advantages. It was so unrelatable and so, as I said, tone deaf. It was, I just couldn't even believe it. It was long, and I think of Jerry Seinfeld's speech, which was brilliant. He talked about not losing your sense of humor. Like, he gave them tools and things to think about. The theme of Danny Meyer's speech was, he said, so I tried this and I thought, what can go right? And so that was it. That was the theme. What can go right instead of what can go wrong? Of course you think that. You've got a shitload of money. You can take risks. You can go to Rome and learn how to cook and then talk about how your family goes to Rome together once a year. Like, it was, it put a damper. Because a great speaker at a graduation can really make the graduation and make you think. And this was, he's very successful. He gave all the kids a coupon for a free burger and a shake. Couldn't throw in the French fries. He couldn't throw in the French fries. He could have paid for every single person at that graduation. There were like 500 graduates to eat. He has $400 million. I don't know. Have some humility. If your biggest problem was that you applied to 3 colleges and got waitlisted in one of them and eventually got in, not really relatable. So that's what I thought. I guess I'll never get he's not listening, but I bet I'll never get a table at Gramercy Tavern, even though it's such a great, his restaurants are fucking fantastic and Shake Shack is fantastic, but yeah, it's such a disconnect. Then I was thinking, I would love to do a speech at a graduation, which I've done at high school graduations for kids who are different. And it's fantastic. It's such a great feeling to, to tell kids they're going to be okay. And it's okay to be different. And that, I love that, Seinfeld said, don't follow your passion, follow what you're good at, and then make it your passion. That also, to me, is a little bit, I think I've followed my passion and I'm good at it, but I think there's a way to follow your passion and figure out a way to work in it. Like, if you love, watercolors or whatchamacallit, what's the other kind of painting? Oil painting and stuff like that, and you're really shitty at it, you can work in that industry, selling it or learning about, like, there's ways of following your passion and, making a living at it. So I just worry about the future. I feel old. Like 61 years old, and you're like, wow, you're so, and Henry said to me in the car, he's like, how about, like, he said, like 15 years ago, you were closer to my age, and now you're closer to, your Aunt Joan. My Aunt Joan is 95. my Aunt Joan's age. And I'm like, okay, Henry, I don't need to fucking be reminded of this shit. But it's true. And it's like, no one wants to listen to you when you're this age. But I feel like our generation, we still think we're cool because we are cool. And we were, yeah, I mean, we are cool, but they don't think we're cool anymore. So here's the thing. And I've said this on stage before. When you see someone my age at a bar and you're, 28 years old or 30 years old, and you're like, oh, why is that old person sitting here? We don't think we're old. We don't think we're old. You wake up, you're like, you think you're young, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, fuck. That is literally what happens. You're like, oh, right. I mean, I did a bit about how I have to, entering my year of birth. It's like takes an hour now. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what the fuck did I do with my life? It goes down to, the teens, 2000 teens, 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s. You're like, oh my God. So getting old is hard. And I feel it when I go to the comedy clubs. Like, they're all young and they're like, I remember you when I was 10 and I was 14. And I'm like, oh my God, I have jokes older than you. But I love being with them. And I wonder, are people like, oh, I don't want to be her when I'm that age? And I hope not. But I didn't think I'd be hanging out at comedy clubs at 61. I thought I'd have a fucking TV show, doing big stadiums, whatever. But that didn't happen. And I have a great family. I'm well respected by non-Jew haters. And, I got street cred. And, I'm going to be fine. But not everyone's dreams come true. But you have to really, I know this is so off-brand, but you got to fucking focus on, that you can walk and breathe and have fun and laugh and whatever. So that's what I'm focusing on, even though it's completely off brand. Anyway, so that's it. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you about my upcoming gigs. We have some great podcasts coming up, by the way. Next week will be the unveiling of the new branding of Judy's podcast. I have been doing, and I'm going to be doing lots of press for the film Outstanding, A Comedy Revolution, which is going to be on Netflix. And it is about the history of LGBTQ plus. When it started out, it was just LGB, and then it's LGBT. So LGBT comedy. I also am going to be in Skokie at the Holocaust Museum on June 2nd. I am not going to Israel until January. I had to move the dates, but I will be there in January. On June 4th, I'll be performing at the Eagle, which is a gay bar in Manhattan, I think it's in Hell's Kitchen. And it is, so that's June 4th, that's for Pride. Also, the Skokie Holocaust Museum on June 2nd is a Jewish Pride event. I will be at the Tribeca Film Festival June 7th for the premiere of Outstanding. And on June 9th, I'm doing a live podcast at the Village Underground at 3 p.m. with the Good Liars. So those tickets are available. That's a live podcast on June 9th at the Village Underground at 3 p.m. And then I will be in Provincetown for the Provincetown Film Festival. I will be performing at the Post Office Cabaret on June 13th. And then, motherfuckers, I will be in Provincetown performing every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. starting June 23rd. So through September 8th. So that's that for me. I hope you all have an incredible Memorial Day weekend and that you listen to this in the car. And hopefully there's no young kids in there because I don't think I cursed that much today. I really don't. Fuck, shit, fuck. So, yeah. So that's it. That's all I have to tell you. Thank you so much for listening. Next week is a big surprise. So I'm looking forward to that. I love you all. And anyone who stops me and says, I love your podcast, like I'll go out to certain things and people are like, oh, I listen to it. And it makes me so happy. So thank you for all the love in that area. Thank you for listening, if you're still listening. And this podcast is produced by Laura Vogel. It is edited by Colin Schmaling, and it is out of my brain. So there you go. Thank you so much. And as we always say, so long.